Well, from my website, MikeHuckabee.com, where you can sign up to receive my twice-daily newsletter delivered right to your email box, and it's all free. There's absolutely no charge. From that website comes my thoughts on these stories. Well, this week, President Trump held a press conference with CDC officials on the coronavirus. He sought to calm fears of a pandemic. By the way, there are currently 60 known cases in the U.S. out of 330 million people. He appointed Vice President Pence to lead the White House coronavirus task force. Now, from the reaction that you got from Democrats and the media, but then I repeat myself, you would have thought that Trump had stood at the podium and injected coronavirus into cute but non-gendered children. I'm not even going to quote the tidal wave of hysterical, vitriolic attacks launched following his press conference. But if you want to feel disgusted by their transparent attempts to exploit this disease, to gin up panic, drive down the stock market, and score political points, here's what you do. Just do a Google search like I did. And I guarantee you that Google will helpfully list all the most rabid anti-Trump stories first. If these Democrats accusing Trump of not doing enough to keep foreign diseases out of the U.S. had done anything whatsoever about those issues in the past few years, you know, like fighting his efforts to secure our borders and bring our industries home from China instead of wasting people's time on some doomed-from-the-start partisan impeachment crusade, maybe they'd have a point worth listening to. But for now, I strongly suggest they put on surgical masks, not to protect them from the coronavirus, but to muffle their mouths and protect us from their Trump derangement syndrome. Well, when President Trump warned that lawsuits could be coming over the New York Times' false reports of him colluding with Russia, most media outlets laughed it off as nothing but bluster. They really are slow learners, because this week, Trump's reelection campaign filed suit in New York State Court against the Times for allegedly knowingly publishing false and defamatory statements about President Trump and his campaign aides. They specifically cited an op-ed titled, quote, "The Real Trump-Russia Quid Pro Quo," end quote, which flatly states there was a deal between Trump's campaign and Vladimir Putin's oligarchy to defeat Hillary Clinton. His attorneys pointed out that the article included no proof of this claim and was knowingly defamatory because it contradicted the paper's on previous reporting. Defamation cases are notoriously difficult for public figures to win, even more so for political office holders. Now, the Times naturally dismissed the lawsuit, claiming the article was just an opinion piece and protected by the First Amendment. For blanket protection, I suggest that the Times declare everything in their paper an opinion piece, because it is. Now, the lawsuit is the longest of long shots, but I think it serves as a shot across the bow of the biased media, showing we know what they're doing, and it's no longer going to be shrugged off and ignored. And on the rare chance that Trump does find a judge who allows it to go forward, the discovery phase of how the New York Times creates its anti-Trump articles, that'd be a lot of fun. Trump could just do what liberals who are trying to thwart his agenda do, go shopping for a judge who hates the defendant. I wonder if Trump has appointed any of those judges. That would be interesting. Well, the Green New Deal was originally dreamed up to remake the U.S. economy into a socialist fantasy with, oh yeah, and save the earth, added in later as a sales tactic. But a study by the Competitive Enterprise Institute, Power the Future, and the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty has estimated the cost of the plan in electricity generation, shipping and logistics, new vehicles, and building retrofits in 11 key swing states, including Alaska. Here's what they found. On average, the Green New Deal would cost the typical household, just one household, a minimum of $74,287 just in the first year. Oh, but there's good news. Annual costs fall to just $47,755 per household each year for the next 4 years. Well, except Alaska. And then down to a bargain basement $40,700 each year thereafter. Now, if you're in Alaska, It only gets better. Yeah. Not sure liberals could tax Americans that hard and ever hope to hold office again. All right, we're going to open up our My 2 Cents mailbox and see what's on your mind. We got this from Drew in Albuquerque. He's got a new idea he's requesting. He said, I'd like to be able to listen to the weekly Huckabee show. When will you put it out as a podcast or on radio? Actually, the entire show is already on a podcast. You can download it on podcasts from Apple. And by the way, there's so many ways to get this show. I have people every week come to me and they'll say, oh, I'd love to see your show. I don't get TBN. I say, yeah, you do. If you have cable, if you have satellite, in most places, if you have broadcast, you get it. You may not realize it. Look for TBN. And you can also, if you don't have cable or satellite, watch it online. Go to tbn.tv, go to huckabee.tv. We broadcast it live on Facebook every week, live on YouTube. You can watch it either place. You can watch it live from the TBN website. Folks, we do basically everything but come to your house, knock on your door, turn your television set on, and force you by strapping you into a chair for an hour and making you watch it. There's just no excuse for not watching this show. And then you can watch all the segments individually by going to huckabee.tv, going to our YouTube channel, and you can see it all. Now, this we got from Reverend Rodney from Houston, Texas. He's a bit upset with me. Here's what he writes. He says, quote, I'm a black gospel preacher. You call yourself a man of God, boasting and bragging about a racist, sexist fool who has told over 16,000 lies. He is Putin's lapdog, and he's in love with a mass murderer from North Korea. I can tell you have a racist heart by some of your comments. I still have a hard time believing that TBN would have someone like you on their network. Well, Rodney, be honest with you, I'm kind of surprised they have me on too, but you know what? They do. And apparently you're watching, and so thank you so much for being one of our loyal, faithful viewers. And keep watching. Thank you. Finally, Michelle in California wants to know if I slighted someone. She says, I watched your show that aired on February 22nd, and something stood out that brings me to my question. You welcomed every guest with a handshake except Jonathan Cahn. Why? Can I tell you the real reason? I don't like him. No, that's not true. I love Jonathan Cahn. He's a dear friend. Honestly, here's what happened. When he came out and I was going to shake his hand, he turned and looked at the audience. We have the video. We can show it to you. And so when he did that, I thought, okay, let's just go ahead and get into the interview. And that's what it was. It was not that I thought he had the cooties or anything like that whatsoever. And I did shake his hand and hug his neck as we ended the segment. So that's all there was to it. It was nothing intentional. He's absolutely one of the greatest guys in the world. If you haven't read his books, starting from The Harbinger and all the great books that he's written, I highly suggest that you do it. What an amazing author. Well, friends, keep those emails coming. The good ones, the bad ones, and even the ugly ones, because we want to know what's on your mind. Finally, from my Twitter page, where you can follow me at GovMikeHuckabee, comes some Bernie news. I noted on Twitter that in his entire Senate career, Bolshevik Bernie has never passed a bill, ever. He wants to be president of the United States, but he can't pass one piece of legislation since he went to the Senate way back in 2007. While he's not good at getting things done as a senator, I wonder if he'd be a good socialist and redistribute his votes on Super Tuesday so that all of his fellow primary candidates can share them equally. I'll bet you he's a capitalist when it comes to his votes. What do you think? Well, before we close, I want to share a bit of wisdom from our late President Ronald Reagan. He shared this insight into the politics of socialism. And I quote, socialism only works in two places, heaven, where they don't need it, and hell, where they already have it. Well, be sure to click on our In Case You Missed It segment, where on Huckabee.tv for a more humorous look at the news. Because if you need to smile, please don't miss it. Until next time, these have been the facts of the matter.